What's your take here on Renegade drawing the one and his race style that you expect now that he's in that post position?
I think he's in big trouble.
This is VSiN At The Track. Now here's your hosts, Mike Somich and Aaron Halterman.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back here, VSiN At The Track. I am Mike Somich. He is Aaron Halterman. Special Wednesday recording because it is Kentucky Derby week, which means on Friday we are going to have the Kentucky Oaks, and you got to have a full show around that 13-race card. Of course, Mr. Halterman, how are you doing, buddy? It's Wednesday before the Derby. News is flying. I know we're both popular this week. How's your life going here on Derby week?
Yeah, it's nice to be popular 1 week out of the year, and it's this time. You have to enjoy it, right? It's been great. Good week so far. Do have some, one little piece of unfortunate news that we'll have to talk about here in just a second with the scratch. But other than that, pretty smooth week so far. And man, it's an exciting 2 days, right? Just a great job putting together these cards. I got to say, both of them Friday, Saturday, really, really good.
Yeah, great cards. A lot of races, 27 of them in total on Friday and Saturday. Ton of graded stakes. Kind of feels like a mini Breeders' Cup. We get it every year. Looking forward to it this year as much as I have in the past. I went to sleep last night thinking about this episode and how we were going to have a news update, and there really wasn't much news. So it's on me that the news started to break this morning. We'll get into what is happening with the Kentucky Derby field. 3 horses specifically to talk about. Obviously, we'll talk about the Kentucky Oaks today, as well as 2 other races on that card. We've got best bets. That's right, 4 additional best bets from the Friday card. And we're going to take questions and comments from everybody who is commenting over on YouTube. Really appreciate it. Make sure you're following us at VSiN At The Track over there on YouTube if you want to get involved in the discussion. All right, Mr. Halterman, I'm going to start out with a question for you because I always think this is funny. Over under 20 and a half texts you've gotten of who you like in the Derby already from people that text you once or twice a year. What's the number right now for you?
It's under right now, but it will go over for sure. But usually the timing is like Saturday morning when I'm trying to update a million different things, and then that's when they hit. It's like I'll get to it, but I'm a little busy right now. But yeah, that always happens. It's always kind of funny. You go back if you got an iPhone and you save your message. You go back, you go, yeah, May 3rd last year, he was asking me about the same thing. So yeah, no, it happens. But under right now, but it will go over.
I'm just going to copy the link to our show for Saturday's Kentucky Derby and just send the link to everybody. You want to know who I like? Watch the content, baby. All right, let's start it out here with the news. And unfortunate news this morning, Silent Tactic has scratched from the Kentucky Derby with a foot bruise. That was the number 13 horse. We do have 4 also eligibles. So enter Great White into the chat from the 21 post. Everybody moves in 1 post. So if they were in the 14, now they're the 13 and so on and so forth. Silent Tactic actually mattered for me. I'm not sure if it did for you, but it was a horse that I had in that kind of 3rd, 4th spot in the Superfecta because I did think this was a horse that, well, it wasn't a win candidate, was very relevant from a closer that could hit the board here.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I thought he was one that had a little bit of a chance to hit the board. I thought they would kind of drop back and make one run, and we've seen horses, be able to hit the board with similar tactics like that in the past. So, I think I'm very sad for the connections as always. If you get that far and you're that close and you're in the Derby and then you have to scratch, I can't imagine. That's a gut punch, and I'm sure there's some bettors out there that it's a gut punch to them as well. They were looking forward to betting him, but unfortunate. We heard last week that the horse had a foot bruise, and I would compare like a horse with a foot bruise is like a wide receiver with like a hamstring injury, where at times, hey, it's like a week and we're back. And then at times that thing can really linger. And it sounds like it's one of those situations that's lingering. Sounds like he's pointed to the Preakness now. We'll see, if he is good to go there, but always unfortunate to have a Derby scratch after they've entered.
I do think that foot bruise is a very good analogy toward the hamstring. Like it's going to be tough to be able to come back quickly. And for these horses who are 3 years old, who have already gone through the process of qualifying for this and run a bunch of big races, it's tough to really fire them right back. And you've got a lot of races down the line as well that Silent Tactic would love to be a part of. If we're talking the Haskell, we're talking the Travers, whatever it is in the second half of the season, going to be interesting to see what they decide to do. And if they want to rush back for the Preakness, or if they want to kind of say, okay, let's take a couple months, let's get this horse back to where we want to be, and then move forward from there. Other injury news here, we have both Renegade and Golden Tempo currently dealing with quarter cracks. So before we get into what our takeaway from that is, explain a quarter crack and how relevant you think this is heading into the Derby.
Well, it's kind of one of those injuries that can be relevant in a big way, or it doesn't bother them all that much. A quarter crack, I mean, the easiest way to describe it, it's like if you like, let's say you split your fingernail, basically. That's kind of what a quarter crack is for a horse. It's basically the fingernail of the hoof. That's a bad way to put it, but that's the best way to kind of look at it. So when you think about it, like if your fingernail is say cracked, and you don't put any weight on it or anything, well, it's fine. But if you put weight on it, that's going to hurt, right? But there's varying levels of it, right? If it's just a small thing, it's not that big a deal, and it becomes a bigger thing the worse that it gets. So for this specific thing, Renegade has actually had a quarter crack for quite a while. He actually ran with one in the Arkansas Derby, and he had special shoes on that day. He loved special shoes, the same ones he had in the Arkansas Derby, in the Kentucky Derby. So he's been dealing with it for a while, and they say it's not really bothering him. Golden Tempo, the other one, this is the first I've heard of him having them. I haven't had reports of that in the past. But again, all trainers kind of say the same thing. Oh yeah, it's going to be okay. But, Sherry DeVoe said, hey, I don't think it's bothering Golden Tempo either, but it's something to keep an eye on. Horses have scratched before because of it. And like I said, sometimes horses, it doesn't really bother them quite as much. So keep an eye on it. Wouldn't be shocked one way or another, Mike, what happens here. But, as of right now, it seems like there's still a go for the Derby.
I would be shocked if Renegade scratches, just because it's Rapoli. He wants this race. He's had so much bad luck in this race with scratches with the favorite. Obviously has the favorite again this year in the morning line. We'll see if he goes off as the favorite or not. But it's one of those situations where I'd be very surprised if Renegade, especially since he ran with it before, is out of the race. I do think that that it's a little bit more of an issue here from a Golden Tempo perspective because we have not heard about it before. We don't know if he's run with it before. However, Sherry DeVoe, very good horsewoman. She's going to do what's right in this situation. And to me, when you're sitting there with a 20-1 shot versus when you're sitting there with the favorite, I think this is going to be handled differently as well. So I'm more worried about DeVoe's horse here in Golden Tempo in the gate than I am Renegade.
I am too. And again, the other thing is they were talking about, and I'd kind of heard little rumblings that this has been a problem for a while with Renegade, even back to the Sam F. Davis, which is back in February. It's like, yeah, they kind of dealt with it. So it seems a lot of people, because he's the favorite, talk about Renegade, and because it's Rapoli and how outspoken he is and how polarizing he is in the horse racing community to fans, right? Extra scrutiny there, right? They're looking for anything to get mad about or whatever, or whatever. So I think that's a big nothing burger, honestly, when it comes to Renegade. But I totally agree. Golden Tempo, like just out of the blue, you hear it kind of like just like last week we heard out of the blue, Silent Tactic had a foot bruise. It's like I hadn't heard that before. So anyway, I kind of agree with what you're saying there.
Now, Great White draws in on the 21 from the first scratch. If we have another scratch, Ocelli, the 22 would draw in, 23 Robusto, and then 24 Corona d'Oro. I don't think any of these horses have a shot at winning. I don't think any of these horses have a shot at hitting the board. I do think the 23 and 24 adjust the pace, and possibly Great White, too. Showed a lot more speed than I expected last time out at Keeneland. From the AEs here, as we do develop more and more scratches, are you kind of in the same boat? No chance, but could be pace factors?
I think definitely a pace factor with Great White. Yeah, I do agree with you. Look, he doesn't on paper look like he really is going to have much of a chance, but he's up towards the front, and he's another speed horse drawn towards the outside. Mm-hmm. And so I think the decision is going to be, do we just try to, take him mid-pack and maybe we don't embarrass ourselves, or are we going to just do what he likes to do and gun it? And if we do, it's another kind of factor, right? So I do think it changes the pace dynamic a little bit with Great White in. And look, I think kind of what we always say in regular races when they're getting ready to go, it's like, if you got a long shot, just send them and hope they stay. Well, that may be what the goal is, especially from the 21 hole there with Great White.
Yeah, outside speed matters in a 20-horse field because if you want to be tactical, you got to go. Like, you have to go very, very quick early, and we'll talk about how that's going to affect the draw a little bit more as we get toward the end of the show. Other news, your darlings in the morning of this year are Chief Wallabee and Further Ado. The workouts have been the best ever. We've never seen a horse run so fast. Chief Wallabee, obviously, a lot of focus with the blinkers thing. We'll talk about that more tomorrow. Further Ado, we know loves Keeneland, has a win over Churchill. Any takeaways here from what Further Ado has been able to do in the morning?
I just wanted you to talk about Chief Wallaby and how you love him.
I'm did a great job of only mentioning him for like 2 seconds.
Well, look, there has been, it's kind of unanimous over, and I say that there's a lot of people watching these horses, right? And some you need to listen to, and some maybe not so much when it comes to workouts in the morning. But most people that you talk to, almost all people you talk to, said Chief Wallabee's looked awesome. And Further Ado looks full of energy. So, I mean, there's the horses that are kind of the buzz horses, I think, in the mornings. Now, what does that ultimately mean? Well, who knows? Maybe not anything. But I do think for the case of Further Ado, a horse that a lot of people think may regress off of that race last time out, to see that he's full of energy, to see that he doesn't look like he's tired, I do think that's something that might ease that concern a little bit if you were concerned about it. But Chief Wallaby, look, when has he not looked good?
Yeah, we know the talent's there. It's
Yeah.
can we transition it over to the afternoon? I mean, it's
Yeah.
just that simple.
Yeah.
Are the blinkers
Yeah.
going to make the difference? And again, we'll talk about that a lot more
Yeah.
tomorrow. I do want to ask you one question about Chief Wallaby, because I do think this is one, and you can refine your answer tomorrow if you like.
Okay.
What do you think his off odds are? Because right now it's 8-1 on the morning line. You're getting all this buzz. We know a lot of people like the horse, but he's available as high as 14-1 right now in fixed markets in Las Vegas. So you do see a little push up. We saw him at 12-1 before the morning line was listed in fixed odds markets. Where do you think he ends up? Is it the 8-1 morning line? Is he going to get more money? Is he going to float up? What are your Chief Wallaby pricing thoughts here?
Well, right now it's interesting because, believe it or not, the pools are already open. Now, there's only $400,000 in the pool. There's probably going to be like, I don't know, 17, 18 million in the win pool.
42 million. 40 to 60 million was I think the last couple of years.
So it's we're looking at a what? 1%.
1% of the
right.
It's like election night, and you've got one district in one state reporting, and you're
right. Yeah. But with that being said, he's currently 13-1. Now again, they're going to flip, they're going to change, things are going to happen, but I think you're getting double digits. Why? Because the Puma, I mean, he's already getting name bets. Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, they bought into this horse. So I think he's going to be popular. Renegade's still very popular. I think it's going to be like 10-1. I think the Puma and Chief Wallaby's odds may flip because the Puma was 10-1 morning line. I think he's the one that's going to be closer to, 6, 7, 8-1.
Yeah, the Puma, friend of the show. We love the Puma here. We'll see. We'll see what he's able to do here on Derby Day. All right, before we get into previews, before we start talking Kentucky Oaks and best bets, make sure you are a VSiN Pro. If you've not signed up already, right now is the best time to do so. The Kentucky Derby is just days away, and we've got you covered. There's a Kentucky Derby betting guide there. You're going to have best bets. My superfecta's in there, performances from previous years, and right down the road, and right now you can get all of that for just $14.99 when you get VSiN Pro access for the Kentucky Derby and the Belmont Stakes. You'll get Oaks and Derby previews, post-position draw analysis, race day coverage, best bets, real-time betting splits, AI-powered tools, and 24/7 video over on the VSiN Watch app, all the way through the Belmont Stakes for just $14.99. Sign up right now. Don't wait. This offer expires April 30th. Yes, that is tomorrow. Visit VSiN.com/subscribe. That's VSIN.com/subscribe. Just $14.99 to sign up now through the Belmont Stakes. So get over there, get that done. Again, you get everything, not just horse racing stuff, but sports stuff as well. If you sign up for a month and a half there, VSiN for just $14.99. All right, Aaron, let's get on to the Kentucky Oaks, a race we have not talked about a ton on here, but I would be remiss if I did not say a race that I believe is just as wide open as the Kentucky Derby. There's a field of 14 that are expected to go postward here. These are all 3-year-old fillies going a mile and an eighth over that dirt course at Churchill Downs. Race number 13 on Friday's card, and lukewarm favoritism here on the number 2, Zany, for Todd Pletcher and Irad Ortiz. Must be nice to have the favorite in both the Oaks and the Derby here for Rapoli, Pletcher, and Irad. But contention runs deep. I think you can legitimately make a case for 10, 11 of these horses out of the 14 that are actually going to make the gate. Where are you going on top?
I totally agree with you. I love this race. I think it could go a number of different ways. I think you need to go deep in it. But on top, I'm going to go with a horse that's been running at Oaklawn Park and running really well at Oaklawn Park. I'm going number 4, Counting Stars on top. Mark Casse trained horse here, coming off of what I thought was easily the best race of her career, a 5.5 length victory in the Fantasy Stakes last time out. In that race, I thought she showed a new dynamic, a dynamic that I think she might be able to do here in the Kentucky Oaks as well. I certainly don't want her on the lead, but I think she can sit a little bit closer to the pace than what she had in her previous ones. She ran well. She just kind of blew that field away. It was very solid. 2 races back, man, I really thought she was going to beat Explorer in the Honeybee as well. She ranged up like a horse ready to rock and roll. Only got me 3/4 of a length. Still ran really well, made up a lot of lengths, and that day was a little bit too far behind, in my opinion. The race 3 back is just a throwout. She didn't show up that day at all. But then you look 4 back. This horse looked very good on December 27th, another stakes win there at Oaklawn. So I kept going back to Counting Stars. I think she's going to sit a good trip. I think she's getting better at the right time. I love the pedigree going a little bit longer. I think it's going to help this horse. So number 4, Counting Stars for me. Wide open race, 8-1 morning line. I really like her in this spot.
I not a bad pick, Mr. Halterman. I think this is one of those spots where I am definitely going to go for a price. I don't want to go for one of these shorter ones. And Counting Stars was one of those horses that I looked at for a while here. To your point, feels like she is getting better at the right time. I'm going to go with a horse that I think is going to surprise you. Because once we get to talk about the Kentucky Derby, I'm going to talk about how I don't want an inexperienced horse by Chad Brown. This is too soon to run this horse in this spot. This is the beauty of horse racing. Different fields, different talent levels. I do want the horse that is lightly raced for Chad Brown here, and that is the number 9, Always a Runner, 10-1 on the morning line. So a horse that won on debut at Tampa. Very easily, don't worry about the number there. This horse basically walked and then went into the Grade 3 Gazelle and took a monstrous step forward and really beat the doors off of that field despite winning by just a length and a quarter. Didn't really have to try when turning for home. I love the fact that we've got to win at that 1.125 distance. This is a horse that really is going to flourish with the additional distance. It's a daughter of Gunrunner by Malibu Moon Mare. I think this is a 1.125 all day. Jose Ortiz picks up the mount here. And when I look through this field, the contention runs deep. But when you talk about horses with upside, I don't think there's a ton of them. To me, you look through this and you're like, I kind of know what you are. I kind of know what you are. I kind of know what you are. And then you get to Always a Runner, and it's like, hey, your last numerically fits with everybody else in this field, and you've got some upside. You can break through the ceiling of what you did, where a lot of these other horses, I think, have kind of peaked. And obviously, whoever wins this race is going to improve. But to me, the most likely candidate to improve is Always a Runner. And again, 89 Beyer last time out, going 1.125 so already handled the distance. If we just take a step forward from that, I think she's going to be really tough in a spot. And I'm getting 10-1. There's enough speed signed on for her to be able to come from off the pace. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take a shot with the lightly raced Chad Brown horse, who I think is a wildly high price compared to what she should go off at here in this spot.
I think it's a great pick. I had this horse on top for a long time. I've had a few on top though. So, but I want, it's a tough race, but listen, I don't want anything to do with the favorites. This is a horse I like as well. Always a Runner. Oh, let me kind of build on what you said a little bit there. Yeah, she is very lightly raced, but there's good reasons for that. I heard this interview with Chad Brown. She got extremely sick with pneumonia early on in her 2-year-old season, and to the point where she nearly died. Like it was very, very bad. So Chad Brown really had to take his time with this filly, and they backed off, and he talked about how, look, we were just trying to make sure she was okay. When we got her back, we just tried to keep her happy, healthy. We didn't push her. And that's why you saw the delayed starts for this horse. But he said in the Gazelle, he said, Always a Runner. I had her about 75%. She really wasn't ready, but she, they spent a lot of money on her, and they thought, let's take a shot. And you kind of saw it. Like she made a huge move, and then she got into the stretch, and it was like, oh man, I don't know if she's going to get to that leader. She really had to work, right? He thinks she's going to run a lot better race. Now, a lot of it could be trainer speak. You always have to be careful, right? But he thinks this is a really nice horse. So I'm with you. I really like her as well. I thought this was one you absolutely have to use. She makes a ton of sense. Another one that I want to talk about that is another decent price here, the number 10 Prom Queen, also 8-1. How does this horse not make a ton of sense either, Mike? A solid maiden score, second out when stretching out in distance to 1.16 and then the next time out jumps up to the Gulfstream Park Oaks and just dominates that field. I think the number 10 Prom Queen is right there as a horse that is probably going to get better with this distance as well.
Yeah, it's funny. Aaron and I do not talk about who we like. This is the first show we do together for this Wednesday card. Our Thursday card will be the first show we do together for the Saturday card. So we don't communicate a ton on what we're going back and forth on. We know who we're going to pick in the Derby. I mean, we've talked enough about Derby.
Right.
I have Plum Queen second. I think this horse logically makes a ton of sense to be able to step forward here. The connections, Brad Cox, Castellano, that they can win a big race. It's a Gary and Mary West horse, also connections that are that know the winner's circle there at Churchill Downs quite a bit. Quality Road by Tappet. I mean, she's bred regally to be able to handle this distance. I thought she got a lot better in that Gulfstream Parks Oaks race. Now, the knock on her, we haven't faced a lot. I'm not sure who's good. I don't know. In the Derby, I think the Florida segment was just the best. I think that was the best prep series. I don't know what the best prep series was here for the Oaks because you have all of these horses coming from different places and you don't have anyone who ran dominant numbers. So I'm not going to just say, well, she didn't face anything. She beat who she faced and dominated who she faced. So for me, that's not going to be as big of a knock here. But at 8-1, I think she makes a ton of sense here. I'm probably going to play Oaks Derby doubles through the 9-10 and just leave it there and see if I can get a nice price home and basically elevate the price on a couple Derby horses that I want so that I can use a couple more in the Derby versus just trying to single in the Derby and going deeper here. We mentioned contention runs deep. I do want to talk about the number 1 Explorer here, 6-1 for Bob Baffert. Obviously, someone who's had quite a bit of success here at Churchill Downs. She shipped in from California to the Honeybee and actually beat Counting Stars, who was your pick there. I did think that was going to be a very close race, but Explorer able to kind of re-break and hold off Counting Stars in that spot. What do you make of Baffert and Explorer here, 6-1 on the morning line with Pratt aboard?
I don't love the rail draw for this horse. I think it kind of forces the hand. They're going to have to be a part of that early pace. I see a lot of early speed signed on to the race, and I just don't think that's going to be the best for her. I think when you kind of look at her replay, she's definitely best when she doesn't have to be on the lead, but she's got to be up there close. And so I'm really worried about that. I also worry we haven't seen her since March, March 1st even. Should point that out because March 28th, March 1st, that'd be a big difference. So March 1st was the last time we've seen this horse. And 2-month layoff, I don't know, coming into the Oaks, I don't love it. So I didn't like this horse. I don't know. I left the horse off completely. I just feel like this is not a great spot for her. It's not a great draw. We've seen her in big races before not be able to get the job done. So I was kind of out on Explorer in this spot.
Now, another of the California contenders here, number 5, Meaning, beat Explorer 2 back. And Meaning was one of those horses where I think everyone visually thought this horse was dominant, but the numbers don't come back quite as good as we've seen from other horses. What did you do with the number 5, Meaning, here?
I like this horse. I didn't use her, I'll be honest, right off the bat, but this was one where I thought about it for a while. But ultimately I didn't. I just don't love anything coming out of California until they face other horses. And that's why with Explorer, it's like, well, at least she did go to Oaklawn, right? But these California horses, the circuit just kind of seems a little bit weak. Maybe Meaning can disprove it. She was a dominant horse, really 2 dominant efforts in a row. But again, I just don't know what she's been facing. I think this is a much tougher group. And I just didn't trust her at I don't know if she'll be 5-1 or not. She might float up a little bit, but I just didn't trust her at a little bit of a shorter price. And I just kept rounding back to some other horses I like a little bit more. So I did leave Meaning off. However, if she wins, I'm not going to sit here and say I'd be shocked because she does, she's been very professional in those 2 races this year. And she does look like a horse that, could certainly come over here and have some success.
To me, Meaning, I've got Meaning in 3rd. I think this is a legit contender here. And you mentioned, we always talk about the California, how good are they, right? We did see California run 1-2 in the Breeders' Cup Fillies juvenile fillies last year, right? With a horse who unfortunately is not here in Super Corridora, and then Explorer running 2nd. I like what this horse has done in 2 starts this year, getting incrementally better in each of those starts. It needs to improve. But again, I think the pace kind of sets up right for Meaning to be able to get the right trip. I think on the rail, you mentioned with Explorer, going to get caught up in what I think is going to be a pretty hot pace. Meaning should be able to sit a little bit off that and be able to make a run. So I do have some interest in Meaning, and I'm kind of hoping we float up. If all of a sudden meaning gets into my Oaks Derby double if we're sitting at 8-1, right? I'm not sure if we're going to go that high, but we'll see what happens with meaning there. But I think is a legitimate win contender and someone I'm going to be using in tries here. Let's talk about some of the East Coast horses here. Two that jump out: the number 2 Zany, 4-1, your morning line favorite, and the number 11 Percy's Bar, 6-1 on the morning line. These two faced each other last time in the Ashland. I thought Percy's Bar got a great trip, but also ran a very, very good race. Popped the career best number in that. Now we're second off the layoff for Ben Colebrook in the number 11 Percy's Bar at 6-1. And Zany, who I think everyone assumed was the best horse in this class for a while, your morning line favorite, but the numbers don't necessarily match up that this should be your favorite in the race.
Yeah, I'll start with Zany because she is the favorite, and there's going to be people on her, and I get it to a certain extent. The one time she did go this distance, it was in the Demoiselle, and she was, I mean, that's why people love her, because that was such an extremely good race. Her maiden race at Gulfstream as a 2-year-old was very good as well. So I can't find a knock when you look at those two races. The problem with me, the race at Tampa, and I know she beat a horse named Life of Joy that come back to win. Man, you go watch that race at Tampa 2 back on February 7th. I thought Zany looked awful in that race. I know she won, but it was like, man, that wasn't great. Now, it was at Tampa, which sometimes that could kind of throw a horse off, kind of a quirky track. It was first as a 3-year-old, first off a layoff, so I didn't hold it too much against her. I'm failing to see where the excuses in the Ashland. Yes, Percy's Bar got a beautiful trip, and say Percy's Bar wins by a half length. You go, well, look, it's a trip. Don't worry about it. But it was well clear, 2.25 length victory. Even take Percy's Bar out of the race and say Zany wins the Ashland. She's still changing leads in the stretch. She's kind of all over the track. I don't know. She just hasn't looked the same this year. So I'm kind of out on Zany. I faded her. I don't have her anywhere. Percy's Bar I did use because, hey, that was the first race of the season for her in the Ashland off of about a 4-month layoff. She looked very good doing it. It was a perfect trip for sure, but also she had a burst of speed. So 11 Percy's Bars on the tickets for me. Zany, I just can't get behind this year.
We agree on these two, and for the same reason. A lot of times we don't see these fillies take a step forward, 2-3. I haven't seen the step forward from Zany from 2-3, and that to me is the biggest issue here, especially when you're talking about favoritism. And you go back and you put it well. You watch that Ashland. She had Percy's Bar like that. No difference in the early trip in my mind, and Percy's Bar made her look like she was standing still. So she needs to flip the script on Percy's Bar and improve over the Demoiselle, which she ran last year, to be able to get back to this level. I'm just not willing at 4-1 to put her on tickets. To me, Percy's Bar, clearly the more interesting of those two horses. One price I want to bring up, and then I'll let you jump in with any prices that you may have here. I think we have to at least mention the 12 Bella Ballerina, who's sitting at 12-1 on the morning line here. I know that Life of Joy was a horse that I was very interested in using had she been in this race. Unfortunately, she's not able to make it into the gate. What do you make of Bella Ballerina here, who was the favorite in the Rachel Alexandra, was the favorite in the Fairground Oaks? The pace may not set up great for her, but feels like 12-1's a little bit long when you're looking at some of these other prices.
Yeah, it's the same horse for me, and this is the one that is going to make me very angry if she wins, because I have liked this horse for quite a while. She has a win here at Churchill Downs on the Goldenrod to end her 2-year-old season. The Rachel Alexandra 2 races back, she won. It wasn't fantastic, but it was a good starting off point. I just didn't see a lot of a move forward in the Fairgrounds Oaks last time out, and that's what I was looking for. I wanted to see her kind of take, not just run off the screen or anything, but take another step, right? And she kind of ran the same again, I thought, in that race. And you mentioned Life of Joy, who was awesome that day. Bella Ballerina wasn't competitive in that race. She got beat 3 3/4, and that's when I was like, man, I still kind of like her, but I don't know about the Oaks. So she will upset me greatly if she wins, because I am going to leave her off. But if you're sitting here going, you know what, I've liked this horse for a while, double-digit odds, I never thought we'd get that in the Oaks, I'm going to stick with her, go for it. I am not doing that, but go for it if you want to, because this is a horse that at one time, 5 weeks ago, I kind of thought this would be my Oaks pick. I thought, okay, we'll win the Fairgrounds Oaks and then we'll go. But I didn't love that race from her.
5 weeks ago, if she had won the Fairground Oaks and drew a little better in the speed, blah, 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 she could have easily been 5-1 in this race. And because of that race, you're staring down the pipe at 12-1. I think she may be able to stick around. I do want to at least say that if you're playing like supers, that she might be that horse that helps you round it out. All right, last horse I want to talk about. The horse that is, I'll go with the controversial horse here in this race. Lovely Gray, the 15, right? This is, if you're a stoolie out there, you probably already know this, but owned by Dave Portnoy, who owns Barstool Sports, Go Gray Stables. Horse drew into the race. We are going to have Lovely Gray in here as he made off the move off the also eligible. 30-1 on the morning line. So horse that has run once on dirt. That was all the way back on debut there at Indiana Grand. Didn't do much, but it was a sloppy track. So, 6-1 half those. You can make an excuse if you want to. I am bringing this horse up because I think this is an interesting one to use at the bottom of supers. I do think there is a lot of speed here. And I actually liked Lovely Gray in both of those Turf Paradise races where she ran, Turfway Park races where she ran second the last 2 times out. I think she's running late. I don't think she can win, but I don't think 3rd or 4th is off the board. If you're playing supers, if you're playing tries, I do think including Lovely Gray is a nice way to try and inject some value into them.
Kind of feels like a full effort type of horse, full effort coming from Turfway Park and
Final Gambit.
Or a Final Gambit, sure. Horses that just, you don't really think they're going to win, but maybe if everything collapses, this horse will come running. I'm kind of glad the horse is in the race. I think it's good for the sport, and I don't blame them one bit. If you can run in the Kentucky Oaks or the Kentucky Derby, go ahead and do it. We could always go back to what the horse does well after, if you want to. But no, I don't think it's a bad horse to use. 30-1, and the problem may be the stoolies may bet this horse to where you may not want to use her. We'll see what happens there. But look, I don't think she's out of the question. Again, it needs to be a monumental type of pace collapse, but it kind of projects to be pretty fast, so it could happen.
Well, I do want to mention that because I agree with you. I do think she gets bet because of the stoolies. However, no disrespect to the stoolies. I think they're going to be betting to win, not betting for 4th in the super, right? So, I think there's still the value, the win odds versus the value in a super or a try in the last part of it, I think are different because you're going to get people who come in, I want 20 to win on this horse. I want 50 to win on this horse, whatever it is, versus I'm going to put this horse underneath in the super and 3rd or 4th spots. I think you're going to get more of the true odd value in those spots than you will necessarily in the win spot.
That's a very good point. You think about Sandman, the horse that took a lot of public money, but he was only bet in that win pool last year for the Derby. This could be a similar thing. It's also, this is the Oaks versus the Derby, and so that is a little bit different than if Perez had a horse in the Derby. It would be a little bit more of a buzz. So, but just keep an eye on it. That's all I would say.
All right, that is the Kentucky Oaks. Number 4, Counting Stars for Aaron, 8-1 on the morning line. Number 9, Always a Runner, 10-1 on the morning line there. Race number 13 from Churchill Downs on Friday, the Grade 1 Kentucky Oaks. Now, if you're watching this, we want to know who you're picking for the Oaks. We'll talk about it a little bit tomorrow on tomorrow's show, so make sure you drop down in the comments. You can find us at VSiN At The Track over on YouTube. That's youtube.com/@VSiN At The Track. Join the family now. Never miss an episode or our best moments. Make sure you post your comments and questions below on YouTube. As always, every episode, we read through those. Good or bad, we want to hear from you. Who do you like in the Oaks? Who are your best bets on this Friday card? And as always, if you want to catch us in podcast form, head over to Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Search VSiN At The Track and make sure you give us a nice little thumbs up, rate and review, 5 stars only, please, so we can get out to as many ears as possible on this massive horse racing weekend. All right, Aaron, let's hit the rewind button a couple races here. Go to race number 9, the Alysheba Stakes here from Churchill Downs. We are going 1 mile and a 16th here, $750,000 on the line. And our old friend Baeza is your morning line favorite here at 5-2. Are you going to last year's 3rd place finish in the Kentucky Derby? Or are you going somewhere else on top?
It's a hell of a race, isn't it? Man, what a really, really good race this is. I am going to go against Baeza in this spot, and I'm going to go with the hot horse right now. Number 7, Skippy Longstocking for me, Mike. I'm telling you, he's really, really running well right now. Of course, he won the Pegasus World Cup. He beat White Abarrio. Now, look, White Abarrio may not have ran his absolute best that day. May have been a little short. I get that. But still, it was a great effort in the Pegasus World Cup by Skippy Longstocking. And I thought he was excellent last time out in the Essex at Oaklawn Park. I get, again, the Essex was not the hardest race in the world, but he beat those horses very easily in that spot. So I think he's coming into this pretty good. I think he's hot. I think Safi Joseph Jr. has been really hot as well. I think he can beat him, and I think he catches Baeza in a good spot. First race off the layoff, first race for Bill Mott. Maybe Baeza puts us like a little bit of a sovereignty-like first out effort, and it isn't fully cranked all the way up. So give me the number 7, Skippy Longstocking, to win this one.
What do you think Skippy Longstocking goes off at?
I think he'll be the second choice. I don't think it'll be 7-2, though.
I'm going to be fascinated to see who gets bet into favoritism. I would be surprised. I think it's going to be Skippy Longstocking.
Do you really?
I do. Yeah, I just, and this is an interesting field. I mean, you mentioned it. We've got Baeza. We've got Tapon Street, who's coming back. A horse that was hyped through the Kentucky Derby Trail, but kind of fell flat last time out. You've got East Avenue, who was a hyped horse. Grande in here for Pletcher. Like, this is a very fascinating race. We'll talk about all of them. I feel like that Pegasus World Cup Invitational is going to get bet, though. I am going to go to Baeza here. The number 2 horse, 5-2 on the morning line, is my top pick in the race. And I think it's going to be fascinating to see if it is Skippy Longstocking who is favored, or it's going to be Baeza. We see Baeza switching over to the Bill Mott barn. Mott's been very good when you get these type of horses. 22% first time out with the trainer. And it just felt like all of last year we never saw the full amount of talent that Baeza has because of what kind of was taken out of him going through that Kentucky Derby process. And then he jumps back and runs at Saratoga. I thought he ran really well in the Jim Dandy, but you're never beating Sovereignty. And then wins the Pennsylvania Derby. Breeders' Cup Classic just a little bit too much. I think this is a pretty good spot. I do think this is a very contentious race, but I think you're going to see the best version of Baeza today versus you've seen in any other races. I don't want to run to the window at 5-2. I'd want closer to like the 4-1 price on Baeza here if I was going to go to the window, but I do think this is your most likely winner in the race.
Yeah, look, I am waiting to see what this horse does because, I think he did an excellent job last year being lightly raced and getting thrown in all the big races, and I thought he ran okay. The one thing I'll say is I think he may have been a tad overrated last year at times. He got bet maybe a little bit harder than he should have. But again, I think he has I'm going to improve as a 4-year-old written all over him. I mean, shouldn't he, after, like you just pointed out, a really tough campaign for a 3-year-old that was, like said, that just broke the maiden, is like, okay, let's run in all the stakes races now. So I'm very curious, the Bill Mott with the horse now, I think that means this horse is going to be in good hands, right? I think the horse will improve as well. So I just am waiting to see on him. I never really fully bought into him last year, and that could be why I'm taking Skippy this year. I never fully bought into him, but I'm very curious to see what happens here. And how about Bill Mott? He's got Sovereignty and Baeza in the barn. Why don't you just get journalism and get all 3 of them? Right?
Well, how about we add Chief Wallabee as another classic winner here to that barn? I had to mention him. We've gotten like 30 minutes of the show, and I've already only done it twice. Look. If I was going to bet a horse to win in this race, and this is what's interesting about horse racing, right? I like Baeza on top. I don't like the 5-2 price. If I was going to bet a horse to win in this race, if I get 10-1 on the number 8 Corporate Power, probably going to have a win ticket here. And I picked this horse last time in the New Orleans Classic, broke the track record, and ran second. I think there's a boatload of talent for this horse. And if you can go back and watch the show, and I talked about this horse in the New Orleans Classic, I think Corporate Power has the opportunity to be a very good older horse. Just did not run between 2024 and 2026, debuted in an allowance in 2026 at Fairgrounds, came back, won impressively, second off the layoff, off this long layoff, second time in the Asmussen barn, ran huge, too good to lose in the New Orleans Classic, and lost to a horse called Touch Upon a Star, who is like undefeated in 1.5 million races at New Orleans or at Fairgrounds, just absolutely dominates down there. And again, really wish Corporate Power won at 5-1. If Corporate Power runs the same race, who's beating him?
Well, look, I thought this would be your pick, honestly. So because I remember that race well. I remember texting you after the race, and I said, "Yeah, your horse ran tremendous." And you're like, "Yeah, but it doesn't mean anything if he doesn't win." I'm like, well, I get it, but he did run tremendous in that race. So I thought he'd be your pick. I like him. I think he's got a great shot in this. As a long shot pick, I think he makes a ton of sense. The track was playing extremely fast the last 2 weeks at Fairgrounds. So maybe that kind of elevates him a little bit. It is a race that looks bigger than anything else on the page for him. But the problem is it was his second race off the layoff, and it was a second race for Asmussen. It probably should look bigger than anything on the page. It makes sense that he would run a bigger race there if he had it in him. Could he do it again? Could he run even a little bit better? I think that's the question. So, look, I think he's really good. I think he ran really well in that race last time out. I have no, again, I thought he'd be your pick. So,
And it's interesting because like you're talking about like, okay, ran a number off the page. Well, we didn't see him run at 4. No clue. Like you're taking 3-year-old numbers and you have no 4-year-old progression because he was out the entire year. And then you go to the 5-year-old level and you're like, okay, what is the expected progression? He ran a 97 at 3. A 106 at 5 is 100% in line with that if you get like your ability to step forward as you mature as a horse. So I don't know if it's a justified number yet, but it's not like ridiculous from that perspective in my mind. So I like, again, I think Baeza, your most likely winner here, my pick on top. The horse I would bet is Corporate Power if we get 10-1. The reason I didn't pick Corporate Power, I don't think we get 10-1. I don't think this price is holding. We'll see what happens when we actually get to the tote board, but I think it's probably closer to like 5-1, 6-1. And if I'm wrong, great. I will bet Corporate Power.
Yeah, no, I get it. And I think you're right. Buyers get bet, and the buyers out there for everybody to see, right? So, and it's Asmussen and Jose Ortiz. They get bet as well a little bit there, especially at Churchill. So I'm with you. Here's one I thought about, and tell me that I'm dumb for this. What about the number 3 Grande? Do you buy 2 races back that was real, that buyer, and how good he ran? He did regress. He didn't run all that great last time out in a win in the Ghost Zapper. He's still one I've always kind of liked. And, they kind of threw him into the deep end of the pool, and he performed okay, lightly raced, but did get hurt. I gave number 3 Grande a long look. I'm going to play him underneath. What do you think about him?
Yeah, I went back and forth on Grande.
Yeah.
And I think that if you believe he can win from off the pace, I think Grande is playable. That to me is the key here because you look at how this race sets up from a pace perspective. Number 3 Grande been first on the first and second call the last 2 races. Navajo Warrior has a little speed, but I don't think is a really forward threat here from the one post. However, the 5 East Avenue is very fast early. Faster than Grande early. The 6 What's New, ridiculous name, faster than both of them. Probably your pace setter here. I see the 3 of them hooking up. I think Skippy probably sits right behind those 3. I think you have a really fast pace in this race. Even Disruptor, the 9, wants to be forward. You got 5 horses that are legitimate forward horses, 3 of them that are legitimate speed. I just think it makes it really hard for Grande to be able to go gate to wire. And you're the rail speed, you probably have to back off, right? You probably have to sit in third in the pocket. And then the question is, can you win from that spot? You've never done it before.
Yeah, I was kind of excited about him until that last race. I just didn't think it was that good. And it's like, man, you're going to have to be really good to win this race. So I was with you though. The trip might be a little bit awkward for him, especially drawn towards the inside, but man, I don't know. There's just always been something about that horse I kind of like. We got to talk about Tappan Street, don't we? I mean, that's a horse. I don't know why he's 4-1 on the morning line. That's the first thing I looked at, but what do we do with him? Because he's famous for beating Sovereignty in a race where Sovereignty didn't run very well. He really hasn't been that great since, but he's got a lot of fans.
Famous for where Sovereignty didn't run very well. Ouch. Shots fired.
He is. I mean, come on.
He got the jump on Sovereignty. I would put it that way. I think Sovereignty still ran a decent race. I bet this horse I picked this horse in the Pegasus World Cup Invitational, and the horse got bet. I feel like the horse gets bet again. I'm out at anything under 8-1. I don't think I'm gonna get 8-1.
Yeah.
I do think probably the horse I would use in tries. Like the pace really sets up well for Tappan Street to be able to run into it. Like if this is quick, like this is the horse that wants to closely stalk, right? It's Baeza, it's Tappan Street, and it's Corporate Power. Corporate Power is a deep closer. Baeza, who knows? Like was a deep closer, was mid-pat. Like we'll see what he comes out with. Now he's in the mop barn for the first time. This is the horse that projects to get the setup. I think that Skippy and Tappan Street are the 2 that project to get the setup, right? And I think that's why you're seeing the price here I'd rather have Skippy than Tappan Street. I'll tell you that much. If they're both at around the same price, I, he's one of the more like confusing horses in this entire card on what you do with him because either you're in or you're out, and if you're in, you better be all the way in if you're betting him at 4-1.
Yeah, that's where I felt too. I think that's too short. And again, it's a horse that just, I think he like however you want to describe it. He ran a very good race in the Florida Derby, but he caught some decent conditions, let's say that day, and then the injury, and then it's like there's just no proof that he's even back to that Florida Derby race after the two races we've seen. You could draw a line maybe through the Pegasus World Cup. I mean, he just didn't run. Something may even happen to him. Who knows? But I don't know. That's a very popular horse because of that Florida Derby win. So I just wanted to bring him up.
East Avenue, Knew What's New, and Disruptor. Of the three, any interest in them? The 9 Disruptor would be the only one I'd be considering using. I wouldn't use East Avenue or Knew What's New.
No, I totally agree with that. I thought Disruptor ran a very big race in the Challenger. He beat Disco Time, who's been very disappointing in his last 2 starts, right? But he's running. Well, maybe we'll talk about him tomorrow. But Disruptor beat him last time out. Look, I think this is another one. He's kind of like Grande in a way where it's like he was supposed to be pretty good, and they threw him into the deep end of the pool of Florida Derby, and it was too much too soon, but he's come back to run 2 really good races. So I think he's a little bit interesting. I ran aboard second straight race as well. I thought that was a good sign for Disruptor.
Yeah, and I like the race 2 back where we were able to close and win from 7 furlongs. I realize it's 7 furlongs, the pace is a little fast early, but at least has the ability to not need the lead or need to be really forward, which is something I think would be a negative here in this spot. All right, that is the Alysheba Stakes. Number 2, Baeza for me, 5-2 on the morning line. Number 7, Skippy Longstocking for Aaron, 7-2 on the morning line. However, if corporate power's 10-1, that's where my win bet money would end up in this spot. Again, that's race number 9 from Churchill on Friday, the grade 2 Alysheba Stakes. All right, now before we keep going here, want to mention the Triple Crown offer we have right now over at VSiN. The road to the Triple Crown starts now. If you're betting the Kentucky Derby, it's time to get dialed in right now. Take advantage of our Triple Crown special. Get a full VSiN Pro subscription through the Belmont Stakes on June 6th for just $14.99. And guess what, Aaron?
What?
Use promo code TRACK, and you get an additional 10% off that $14.99. So it's like $13. Just go sign up, VSiN Pro subscription for a little over $13 here. Go to VSiN.com/subscribe. Use promo code TRACK. That's VSIN.com/subscribe. Offer expires April 30th. Make sure you lock in now. You'll get the Derby betting guide. You'll get the Belmont picks for that. You'll get access to Oaks and Derby previews, post-position analysis, race day coverage, and full slate of races with expert breakdowns all week long. And, of course, you'll get our best bets daily, real-time betting splits, AI-powered prop tools, and 24/7 video from the Watch app. Head over to VSiN.com/subscribe right now. Use promo code TRACK and get 10% off that $14.99 offer. All right, last race before we get to your comments and the best bets here. Let's talk about race number 8, the 8 Bells Stakes here, grade 2 competition. We're going to sprint for the first time here, or at least of our previews. 3-year-old fillies, favoritism on the outside here. On Time Girl for Brad Cox and Irad Ortiz sitting at 5-2. Where are you going on top?
Well, you know who my favorite trainer is. It's Steve Asmussen. My favorite jockey is Flavien Prat, and they're going to team up for the number 8 Goodall, and this is the horse for me. This is also a horse I've liked from the very start. She debuted on Lecomte at Fairgrounds, ran a pretty good second to a horse named Just Bluffing, who's decent. Broke the maiden in the next start, and then last time out came to my favorite track, Oaklawn Park, and won a stakes race by 4.5. I thought she jumped up in a big way. I thought she ran extremely well that day. And she was able to kind of mildly relax early. Her first 2 races, she just gunned it. I thought last time out, she was a little more patient, and I think that really helped her down the lane, and she really took off. I think she's getting better with each start. I think she comes into this race well. I love the fact that Flavien Prat's getting aboard here. I thought that was a very good sign. Eric Asmussen, Steve Asmussen's son, rode the horse last time out. He's still at Oaklawn Park riding. And, I mean, no offense to the Asmussen jockeys, but usually when they get in these big spots, they do get different jockeys. I thought the fact that he got Flavien Prat to ride this one's good. I think Flavien Prat's going to be a good rider because I mentioned, you don't really want to gun it with this horse, in my opinion. You want to be able to get her to relax. I think Flavien Prat is really, really good at that. So I really like the number 8 Goodall in this spot.
I love hunting prices, Aaron. You know that.
I do.
This is not the race to do it.
I don't either. I don't think so either.
I,
Yeah.
I think this is clearly a 2-horse race.
Mm-hmm.
I think Goodall is one of those two.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go with the favorite on the outside, though. I'm going to go with the number 9 On Time Girl here, 5-2 on the morning line for Cox and Irad here. I think it's these two. And I think that's all you need if you're going multi races. I personally like the 9. I'm probably going to single the 9 in some stuff here. But this is a situation where I'm just going to take a little bit of the pace play. On Time Girl, the mile at the Devona Dale was just kind of a mess of a race for this horse. Just draw a line through it, go back to the sprints. She was awesome. And every one of those sprints, she has 2 wins over this Churchill Downs racetrack. We know she very much likes it. That matters. Certain horses love Churchill, certain don't. I think the 7 furlongs is a very good distance for her. I like the fact that she's won at 7 and she's at least gone a mile and was able to move forward somewhat toward the end of that race, whereas Goodall has only gone 6 furlongs, so the extra furlong going to be a question mark here. Now, it didn't look like it mattered in the Purple Martin. Like she looked like she could get every bit of the 7, so I don't want to say I'm like overly concerned here about the distance. I just like the fact that On Time Girl has done that distance before, and I think your point to what we do early is going to be wildly important in this race. French Friction, the number 2 horse, I think absolutely sends 21-4 early speed. That horse is going to be on the go. River Wind, the 3 horse, I think absolutely sends. That one's going to be on the go as well. That's really going to set up a situation here where Pratt needs to sit off with Goodall, needs to sit in 3rd in this race, and then get the jump on those 2 and try and hold off On Time Girl. If he does that, I think Goodall has a legitimate chance to win. If he doesn't, I think On Time Girl absolutely romps here. I think it's between the outside 2. I like On Time Girl just a little bit more because of the Churchill Downs factor and the fact that we've gone the 7 furlongs, but I'm not going to knock you for picking the 8.
It's very interesting that, like you said it earlier, we don't really talk before the show. We do that on purpose to try to, we get our original thoughts, right, for the first time. And we see these races very similar, I feel like, that we've covered today. And that isn't always the case, but I'm 100% with you. It's the 8 or the 9 for me as well. And I see it unfolding just how you kind of said it. A couple horses are going to go. I think since we saw Goodall, that dimension from her last time out, I think she'll sit behind. I think drawn to the outside is very good for her as well to kind of just stock the pace. I think Goodall gets first run, and I think On Time Girl's just maybe a length or 2 behind. And I think it's going to be a stretch duel between those 2. And look, maybe you can just flip a coin and who's going to get there and who's not. I could see it your way as well. I could see the 9 On Time Girl, maybe even specifically in that last furlong, since she's ran it before, just, hey, I'll go catch her now. No big deal. Or I could see Goodall keeping going. So I think this is a fun race. I don't think it's as wide open as the first 2 races we've talked about, though, for sure.
I do have interest in one long shot if I'm playing like exactas underneath. And if you want to get like involved in multi-race bets and you want to go 2 deep here and either go this horse in the 8 or this horse in the 9, I don't think that's a terrible idea either. It's going to be the other Brad Cox runner here, the number 4 Paradise, sold for $700,000, daughter of gun runner. Munning's on the bottom side. This horse ran really well, I thought, on debut at Churchill, where the break wasn't great. Then had to close a bunch of ground going 6 furlongs, which was probably a little bit too short for this horse. Ended up running 2nd that day. Ships down to Gulfstream, wins at a mile impressively gate to wire. Goes to Aqueduct, wins at a mile, coming from just off the pace. Jumps up into the Gazelle, which is a mile and an eighth. Maybe a little too much, like maybe a little too long. Now we're cutting back to 7 furlongs, and you're getting 15-1 on a horse that has tactical early speed and is going to be clearly fit enough to be able to have no issue getting the 7 furlong distance and coming from off the pace. This is the horse to me where if the 2, the 3, and the 8 hook up, all of a sudden the 4 gets a little bit interesting, being able to roll from off the pace. We've seen crazy fractions in this race in the past where horses close and win at 7 furlongs. I think Paradise has to at least be in the conversation here if we do get that pace set up. And you're getting 15-1 in Johnny V on a Brad Cox horse here. I think you could go worse directions.
Yeah, I don't think that's bad. I also like that Brad Cox, because this horse could have ran in the Oaks, and he immediately said, no, we're going here. And I think that is to kind of just tell you, hey, we went too long last time out because her races.
It's a one-turn horse.
Yeah. No, well, look, her race around 1 turn certainly say that, right? So I think he made a good decision here. I like that one. I thought the 6 had a little bit of interest, Sippin' Pretty. She was pretty good. That was an allowance race on Bluegrass Day last time out at Keeneland, and she's facing some decent horses, and she kind of buried them in that spot. Now, I do think we'll have to make another step, get a little bit better here in this spot, but I think it's possible. She's kind of an up-and-comer. This will just be her fourth start. 3 really good starts this year. You know, even the maiden race she lost, she ran well. She just got tired late down at Gulfstream, but she came back with 2 nice races in a row. So I think Sippin' Pretty kind of taking the logical steps to kind of prepare for this spot. I think it's a good spot for her to try stakes for the first time. That's the other one I kind of thought of outside of the 8 and the 9.
Yeah. It's the pace problem and the 6 furlongs problem for me again. Like,
Yeah.
I just don't see her being further off at 7, and I think this is going to be a pretty quick pace, and that's going to be a negative here for Sippin' Pretty. You also need quite a bit of improvement in my mind to be able to compete, especially if Goodall runs back to that last number. If Goodall runs back to that number, a lot of them here are in trouble. What do you make of the number 7, Love Your Neighbor, 6-1? This is the other horse that's shortening up. It's been going a mile plus the last 4 starts. Ran into Life of Joy, ran into Bella Ballerina, 2 horses that were highly thought of in that 3-year-old fillies class. Does Love Your Neighbor on the cutback here have any chance?
Every time I handicap this horse, I always say the same thing. I just can't get there, you know, and every time she outruns kind of what I think she's going to do. So many seconds, third last time out in the Fairgrounds Oaks. I ended up saying the same thing. I couldn't get there. I just can't. But she'll probably run second or third at a bigger odds than what she should be. But I just think she's a little bit outclassed in the spot.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. To me, this is a horse that runs second, third, fourth. Like, probably going to have a 9 over 4-7-8, 4-7-8 trifecta in this race. Just seeing if I can go price hunting with either the 4 or the 7 to kind of balloon it up if we can get Goodall to somehow run out. I don't hate that superfecta either. Just 9 on top of 4-7-8, 4-7-8 here and see if we can get some prices underneath of the horse that I like on top. But I do think that on the cutback, again, if we see the pace I'm expecting here, the horses on the cutback, I think, are going to have an advantage, and that's the number 4 Paradise and the number 7 Love Your Neighbor.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think the Paradise angle is that's the one that's really, really intriguing to me.
Yeah, especially at 15-1. I do think Paradise is a better horse than Love Your Neighbor at the 1-turn distance, too. So that is the 8 Bells race number 8 on Friday's card. 7 furlongs here, $700,000 up for grabs for 3-year-old fillies. Number 9, On Time Girl for me, 5-2 on the morning line. Number 8, Goodall, 3-1 for Aaron on the morning line. Both of us a little interested in the number 4 Paradise, sitting there at 15-1. All right, Aaron, before we get into best bets, we have not talked about the draw for the Kentucky Derby, so just want to get your general thoughts on it. But before we do, want to bring in some of the comments here from YouTube. Roundtable Treasures jumped in and says, well, I wasn't thrilled with Renegade in the number 1, but Irad might be able to follow litmus test for a while into the first turn. I think Further Ado took the worst of it as well. He somehow has to find a spot without going 5 wide into the first turn. With the new gate and Renegade breaking good, he should be okay. There's a lot of speed here. What's your take here on Renegade drawing the 1 and his race style that you expect now that he's in that post position?
I think he's in big trouble. I'm not going to dance around it. I think he is. We've seen horses with similar styles of him not have great trips at all from the rail, even with the new gate. So I think he's in trouble. I think he has to drop back. You might say, well, look, he was going to drop back anyway, but I think he's forced now. I think he's getting pushed back. I think he's getting a lot of dirt in his face. I think horses are crossing over him, and I think it's going to be a big problem. I just look back to Modongle, a horse that was pretty similar to the running style of Renegade, and Modongle had a terrible trip. He got pushed down, and then he had to come way wide, and he didn't run all that well in the Derby because of all those circumstances, and he came back to win the Belmont, right? And so that's kind of my fear. It's not a great draw. Is it possible Irad works a trip? Is it possible the horse can have a little bit more luck than what we're thinking? Yeah, it's always possible, but I think the chances are the trip's going to be pretty rough for Renegade.
Yeah, look, I don't think you can go. I think that even if you have tactical speed, you have to just drop back because you're not fast enough to be able to clear. Like, even Albus has some speed, man. Like, he might decide to show from that 2 post because he doesn't want to be a deep closer, right? Like, he wants to have some mid-pack position. I think this is your most likely horse to be last under the wire for the first time. I you mentioned Modonigal. Let's talk about Known Agenda, who drew the one and ended up running 9th in this race. It's another horse I think you could comp directly to this one. And to me, it's not just the fact, because Renegade can close. I have no problem with him closing, and I'm going to play closers in this race. My issue here is I think 4-1 should be 10-1. I think we're significantly short on the odds. And secondly, if I'm a closer, the last place I want to be is on the rail in the first turn, which sounds counterproductive. You want to save ground. However, you're going to have like 1 or 2 horses to your outside. So your route to closing is not just go wide and sweep the field. Your route to closing is split these horses, go up the rail here, go outside in the backstretch, then go wide, or try and ride the rail like Mystic Dan. That's that. All of a sudden, you have to be the best horse and get the best trip. And that, to me, is a very, very tough combination, especially when you're the favorite, and I think you're already overbet.
A lot of people have mentioned that. Well, hey, the rail will open up for him. He'll be fine. He'll just save ground and then the rail will open up. Well, it might, and it also very well may not. That's the thing. And that he can work out a trip. It's IRAD. It's like, I know I have confidence in IRAD too, but it's just the task became so much more difficult. That's the only way I could really say it. Again, and if you like Renegade, you've got the scenario worked out in your head already, and that what you have worked out, because it could happen, because it's the Derby, anything can happen. They all can get weird trips, with one little thing going wrong, but it's just more likely that it's going to be rough, and he's going to have to be 3 to 4 lengths better than this field to beat him. That's just where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I agree with you. And we'll talk more about this tomorrow when we handle the Derby show as well. So make sure you're at VSiN At The Track over on YouTube. Make sure you get every episode. Make sure you subscribe. Hit the thumbs up button if you're watching there as well, so we can get this out to as many people as possible. 2 other comments Derby-wise I wanted to mention here. George Sherian comes up with, don't leave out 3 horses with Awesome Again on the dam side. Potente, Incredible, and Full Effort. The winner of the Kentucky Derby, however, will be either Further Ado or Commandment. And then Sumbia? Sorry about that. Says Further Ado wasn't right in the Kentucky Gold Cup. Lost weight after and was held out of training for a while. He entered Tampa short. He is the only horse that can win the race without running faster than he did the last race. So 2 Further Ado backers there. I think the Awesome Again one's interesting. I love Awesome Again, a horse that obviously on the dam side helps you get that distance. Further Ado to me is the other one, which I am going back and forth on. You've been higher on Further Ado than I have. I can make the case as to why Further Ado is awesome. I can make the case to why Further Ado is a horse you shouldn't use. He's going to be one of the most interesting horses on Saturday for me.
I agree. I think if there's one horse in this field that can win by 3 lengths, I think it is him. Because the one comment was great. He said he's the only horse in the field that doesn't have to run faster than he already has to win. Absolutely. If we're sitting here Sunday morning or Saturday night and we say, well, 106 buyer won it and it was Further Ado. Well, we've seen him do it before, right? Different competition, different trip coming up in this race for sure, with that outside draw. Yeah. I mean, can he do it a different track? And he's leaving the track where that's what the only track where he's had those flashy efforts have been right there at Keeneland. So that's the flip side of it. I think he's pretty good. But again, you said it. I've always been pretty high on him. You haven't. And so that could be why you're wavering. And I'm just throw him on a ticket, because you don't want to get beat by a horse you've liked for a long time.
Yeah. It's really simple, right? Has the highest buyer. Yes, yeah. But his 2 highest buyers came at the same track against nothing. Has won at Churchill. Yes, but that was his slowest 2-turn race. The 18 post should allow him to stalk on the outside. Yes, but he's going to be forced wide and forward. You can literally say every positive is a negative and every negative is a positive. Further Ado going to be very, very fascinating as we get into the Kentucky Derby. People did not like my Skippy Longstocking journalism comp. I heard about it.
I didn't either.
Well, journalism hasn't beaten sovereignty. He has been close. Writing him off now is a little premature. It's premature to make the assumption that journalism cannot beat sovereignty based off of this comeback race. That's R. Cassidy and J.R. Weghumpt. Sorry again, working on these names here. Maybe just say George from Philly, and I'll be able to nail these. Look, maybe I was a little aggressive saying journalism is the new Skippy Longstocking. He obviously is a very, very good horse, and he has lost to some very, very good horses in the races he's lost. I'm not sure how he turns the table. That's all I'm saying.
Well, it's one of those things. The comment isn't inaccurate. It is. I mean, we're very early into the 4-year-old season. We've seen him.
It's aggressive. The Skippy Longstocking comment is aggressive.
Well, the Skippy Longstocking comment's ridiculous. Yes, I'm talking about the comment, the comment we got from whatever name you just rattled off there. he's not wrong. Like it is, we're early in the 4-year-old year. It's the problem becomes how long are we going to say it? Because I've heard this all last year too. He'll look out. He'll turn the tables. I don't know. I haven't seen a race that says he's going to. So he's gonna have to prove it eventually.
Yeah. Put up or shut up time
Yep.
for journalism here in the latter half of his 4-year-old season. All right, on to the best bets here. We've got 4 of them from Friday, including me going absolutely off the rails with one of my picks. All right, I'll go first here with my best bet. I'm going to go to race number 3 on the Friday card, and I'm going to go to the number 2 measure, 6-1 on the morning line here. Mark Casse, Irad Ortiz Jr. This horse returning from a pretty significant layoff. We haven't seen this horse since November 6, 2025. But this was a pretty highly thought of a daughter of essential quality, who ran to Churchill on debut and kind of got a bum trip here. Went 6 furlongs that day, shorter than what this horse wants to go from a distance perspective. Also didn't have a very good break. Stretched out to a mile and a 16th at Keeneland. I thought ran very good, but again, didn't break well. Fast forward to the 3rd race in the career, breaks a lot better. Looks like the horse that we expected the entire time. Oh, by the way, that was going a mile and a 16th at Churchill Downs. Here we are again, going a mile and 16th at Churchill Downs on the comeback trail. The last workout was scintillating. 59-3 for a 5 furlong work there. We know loves this Churchill Downs track. And oh, by the way, the pace is going to set up wonderfully for this horse. There is a ton of speed signed on. Price is right here at 6-1 as well. So race number 3, Friday's card, number 2, measure off the layoff for me, 6-1 on the morning line, Aaron.
I hate this race. I couldn't pick anybody. This was such a tough race in here. I don't hate the pick. Let me be clear. I don't hate the pick. I put the 9 on top in this spot. I don't necessarily love the 9, but I do thought the race last time out was pretty darn solid. So I just went that route to, hey, second time or first time against winner, second time trying to win 2 in a row here. I thought, well, give that one a shot. But this is a really difficult race.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one. I'm glad you hate the race, because that's usually when I pick winners.
That's right.
Like this is very stylistically accurate to how this usually goes. All right, your first best bet. We're going to fast forward race number 10 on the Friday card.
Yeah, you got to mention this horse. I think it's the best bet of the weekend. Race number 10, number 6, Gazora for me. Horse came over and won the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf last time out. Changed hands with the trainers now with Chad Brown for a United States campaign after running all those races overseas before the race at Del Mar. Number 6, Gazora, 10th race, best bet of the 2 days. Had to mention her.
All right, she's 4-5. We used to have a show, which was a daily best bet show. And we said if the horse went off sub-even money, you had to pick an exacta. So who would you have in second here if people want to try and juice it up and play a straight exacta?
Well, look, I think the 3 Whiskey Decision is the next horse to put on the ticket. By the way, Chad Brown horse. So I think it's a Chad Brown exacta here. I thought Whiskey Decision ran really well last time out in the Hillsborough over there at Tampa. So if you gotta play exacta, put the 3 in there. I like 6-3.
Proctor Street, the 2 for me. They were neck apart, so they're very close last time out, but I think those are both interesting horses. I agree with you. I think the 6 is your most likely winner on either of the 2 days cards. It's just whether or not the price permits a win bet there. All right, race number 7, my second best bet. And every now and then I go off the rails, and you're going to tell me I went off the rails here.
Okay.
Give me the number 1 horse, Maytown, 20-1 on the morning line. Yeah, I know.
Right.
This horse has not run at 4 yet. Last time we saw this horse was at Ellis Park, winning a overnight stakes race for $142,000. Race before that was right here at Churchill Downs, beating the boys in a N1X allowance. That is not easy to do. Race before that was breaking the maiden right here at Churchill Downs. So 2 for 2 over this Churchill Downs turf course. The price is absolutely going to be right. I'm going to get every bit of 20-1 here. This is a tough race. You've got Queen Maxima coming in from the West Coast. You've got She's So Spicy. Last time we saw her, she was winning the Breeders' Cup turf sprint against the boys. She's going to be a short price in here. There's a lot of speed. And I think that this one horse, Maytown, has the opportunity to sit a beautiful trip. Progression-wise, I think this is a really aggressive spot from Brian Lynch, who is, by the way, 20% in graded stakes. He doesn't misplace horses in graded stakes very often. His ROI in those 41 graded stakes, $4.03. He wins with prices in these spots as well. I like the rail trip here. I think you're going to be able to sit right behind the speed and make a run. If we're good enough, I want it now. I want the full 20-1 because I don't think we get it again in the future. I think this horse has a ton of upside. She may run up the track. I think she can win the race. And at 20-1, I'm willing to take the shot.
I respect the shot. I don't know about the reasoning, but I respect the shot. Listen, this is a really good field. Queen Maxima's a nice horse. Shoot It True. I can't believe Joel Rosario's still on Shoot It True.
I know. I was shocked.
I was just like one of the worst rides I've ever seen in my entire life at Keeneland last out on that horse. That's a good horse though. But Maytown, I'll just be honest. I didn't consider Maytown.
Let me put it this way. Okay, you have the only 100 buyer in the field. There's two of them. Hall and Ice has one, but it's on the dirt. The only 100 buyer on the field in the turf was She's So Spicy in that Del Mar race.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
If you logically project forward off an 87, 95, 98, that is reasonable for a 3 to 4 year old jump. That puts Maytown right in the thick of this race, assuming we don't get She's So Spicy running off the page. You're getting horses here where I can go through them. Like Hall and Ice is 6-1. No, Moonspun at 4-1. Shoot It True at 6-1. I would much rather have Maytown at 20-1 than any of those horses. And I do think there's enough pace here that it sets up that Maytown can get a good stalking trip on that rail. So I don't think this race is out of the question for this horse to be able to win if we progress the way I project this horse can. And if that's the case, again, I want now at 20-1 the next time out when it's 7-2, and it may be she may run second and be 7-2 next time out. But I think at 20-1, the price is just wrong. And a lot of times these best bets, it's not, hey, this is the most likely winner for me. This is the horse that is most mispriced in my mind, and I think Maytown is mispriced in this race.
Look, I learned a long time ago, don't make fun of people's picks that know what they're doing and put in the work. And so I'm not going to sit here and make fun of it. I'm just going to say I didn't use the horse. But look, hey, if you're right, I think you might get more than 20-1 even, because this is a field where there's a lot of horses that are good and are going to take money. So I'm not.
One last Maytown comment. Florent Giroux, don't mess it up. Don't do it, buddy. If this horse is loaded and you mess it up, I'm going to be mad.
Well,
all right, race number 12, your last best bet on the card here.
I'm kind of excited with this one. Race number 12, I like number 5, Just Aloof, 8-1 on the morning line here. Chad Brown, Flavian Pratt. Look, last time out, first time off a layoff at Keeneland in the Appalachian, she did get fourth, only beaten a half length, did get beat by, yes, 3 horses that are in this race, so going to have to turn the tables here. But here's the deal. The horse was inside for a lot of the race. It was on a track that was playing to closers big time. This horse was not a closer, just a couple lengths off the pace the whole way around. I think we'll get better second out. I think now on a track where maybe that kind of trip will be beneficial to her. I think they learned a little bit with this horse and what they need to do. It was a horse that last year, very good, 2 for 2 in the end of the year with the stakes. I'm kind of with you. I'm not getting 20-1, but I'm sitting here going, I still really like this horse. If she wins here, we're never getting 8-1 again unless they run her way too high. I think this is a perfect spot. So give me the number 5, Just Aloof at 8-1. I don't know if we'll get 8-1, but we're going to get a decent enough price. So I like this horse quite a bit.
Yeah, I second pick for me in this race. I think Just Aloof makes a ton of sense here. Second off the layoff for Brown. You mentioned the way that turf course was playing. It was against Just Aloof compared to the other 3 horses that ran in front of her that day. I picked Imagination the Lady in that race. Yep. I like Imagination the Lady in this spot. I think you're going to get better second off the layoff, but I don't mind the Just Aloof pick at all at 8-1.
Listen, that's the horse that I'm afraid of on it. And that's really the only one. And that, easier said than, before the race starts, hey, that's the only one I'm afraid of. But yeah, Imagination of the Lady makes a ton of sense. I think the horse will take money and should. And you're right. This is another one, second off the layoff, just like Just Aloof. But my hope is the trip is better for Just Aloof, get the horse out. And then hopefully the track plays more to that style versus a late closing style.
I know we're running long, but I got to mention a horse here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go 3 deep in this race in multis, use the 3-5, and I'm going to use the 13, Indigo Woods, who's 15-1. Did you have any interest in the 13 here?
I looked at 13 for a while. I thought the last race at Fairgrounds was really good. I did not use the horse, but yeah, I do have interest in the horse.
Yeah. That's my price there at 15-1 that I think is at least a little interesting there. That's race number 12, the Edgewood from Friday's card. All right, that's going to do it for us here on a Wednesday, previewing the Friday card from Churchill Downs. Make sure, if you enjoyed this show, give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube at VSiN At The Track. We will be back tomorrow with another episode all around the Saturday Kentucky Derby card. I have a special guest as well that day. Looking forward to having someone who I know very well. I've actually sat at a picnic table at Saratoga with this gentleman before. A little tidbit there if you can figure out who it is going to to be. Stick with us here. A lot of information coming up. We're going to have our official Kentucky Derby picks tomorrow. I'm going to have my Superfecta on tomorrow's show as well. A lot of things going on. I want to make you pick a Superfecta too. I want you to hit it this year. I took all the luster last year. It's your turn this year, Aaron.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, that's going to do us here. VSiN at the Track. Normally I say good luck this weekend, but I'm just going to say good luck all week at Churchill Downs, and we'll see you tomorrow at the track.